Good day, neighbors. It is Domynique Jazmen Smith joining you live from Let's Chill Venue and Grill. We are here preparing for our second meet and greet. We are hosting meet and greets on Sundays leading up until Election Day in order to not only meet with our neighbors, but to address any questions or concerns that they may have regarding the upcoming election. This is a wonderful time to get our neighbors together and to get them up close and in person with their candidates. So I am Domynique Jazmen Smith, and I am running for Village Clerk. I am here with
Antwon Russell. I'm back again 4 years later running for mayor.
Yes, and we would like to share some of the questions that came up during our last meet and greet because we do understand that we have many residents that may not be able to attend in person. However, they would like an opportunity to get as much information as they can before heading to the polls during early voting, which is currently taking place at Calumet City Library from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. daily, leading up until Election Day, where voting will continue on April 1st. So we're going to start out by sharing some of the questions and answers from our last meet and greet.
Outside of winning, this question is for Mr. Russell. Outside of winning, why is my vote important to you?
Well, the win is not just for me. The win is for us as a community. And why it's so important and why voting is so important is because 4 years ago, I was 13 votes short. So we have to understand how crucial every vote in the House is because it's the difference between a win and a loss. And when we win as a team this time around, some of the things that will come about will probably be, or that will come up, will be some significant changes with how our taxes are being levied, with how our alleys are not being paved, and with how transparency has not been a number one priority of the current administration. But it will be number one in our administration. You know, with my running mate as clerk and me as the mayor, transparency will be the forefront of our whole campaign. You know, having annual audits is something that your vote will always count for. So you'll always know what your tax dollars are being, how they're being spent, how they're being utilized. So while voting is so important and so crucial that everyone does it, it's more important to know how your vote affects local politics and government and governance, and how transparency locally is the best engine for moving your local community forward. I don't want to go too far on and on about why your vote is so important and why it's going to be so important in the future. But you know, basically, voting is more than just our fundamental right. It is more than just our responsibility. It is our right to change. It is our right for change and our right to have a say-so in our local government. And me and Dr. Domynique are all about transparency, and we're going to continue to be about that.
And I would like to just take a moment to address my age group because we often hear them say that, you know, my vote doesn't count. It's no point in me voting and things of that nature. I want to inform you that I am a deputy register, and the reason that I'm a deputy register is because prior to joining politics, I knew that it was important, or I learned, I'm going to say, that it was important to vote because as a young voter, I did not realize how it directly affected so many things. But as I educated myself, like in most areas of life, once I educate myself, it is not to self-educate. It is to educate myself in order to be able to share that knowledge with those around me and those who may need it and who may want it delivered in different ways or hear it coming directly from me, because those who know me know that if I speak on it, it is what it is, and that I'm going to go and get the facts, and I'm going to go and get the resources, and I'm going to go and get the knowledge, or together we will find those things in order to better position us for whatever the topic may be. When it comes to voting, it is important to vote because oftentimes we spend too much time complaining and understanding and acknowledging the troubles around us, the change that we would like to see, and we don't know what to do about it. Voting is just one of the many steps that we take in order to have our voices heard and in order to get active and engaged in our community and what's taking place. So not only do you vote, You're voting in order to charge the people that you are putting into these places to advocate on your behalf, to make things happen, to go to Springfield, to make sure that what it is that you want to see happen. But voting is just that first step. It's the first step of opening a door in order to be active in your community, not just present. So I want to encourage all of my young voters to exercise their right, not only because of our ancestors' histories, but also because of the direct effect that it has on your life, on your children's education, on your safety, and on everything about your community. So please make sure that you exercise your right to vote in all elections, especially the local election, because the local election directly affects your front door, your back door, your neighbors, your streets, your parks, your schools. So let's not allow people to silence us by tricking us into believing that our votes don't count. Because as deputy register, I'm here to tell you that we are able to see and make sure that every single vote counts. Thank you. Can we have the next question, please?
Yes, speaking of young, I was told, I've been told by our current administration that that you're very young, Dr. Domynique Jazmen, and that because you're so young, you lack experience. Can you kind of give me a little bit of your background to help me, understand, what you're all about and why you feel that you are right for this position?
Well, I am fairly young. I may look younger than I am, but I am under 40, and I relate to the younger population not only because of my age, but because of my desire to be in tune with all age groups, those younger than me, those in my age group, as well as older. When we talk about my age and my experience, I jumped off the porch early, as they say. I went straight from high school into college. I went straight from my bachelor degree into teaching. I then became a teacher for Thornton Township High School's District 205, where I served as a teacher and a social worker for over a decade. I am currently a licensed social worker. I am the founder of a nonprofit organization. That organization is called Empower Urban Communities. Through that organization, I provide free social services, including mental health services. I do run programs in order to increase economical development, just as I will when I become village clerk. I am very dedicated into the community, and those who know me often know me as Domynique of Empower UC. That is my signature name, and that is the legacy that I've started to create over a decade ago, in order to not only encourage those around me, not only provide resources for those around me, but in order to expand myself as a Black woman and setting a solid foundation in order to combat, and this is no shade, but your city girls and your hot girl summers. And I have absolutely enjoyed my life as a college, when I was in college. But I feel like it's very imperative that our young ladies have a role model. And as I learned and when I became a mother, I realized that it's important for me to serve as that role model, to make sure that I am a young woman who those other women can look up to and that our youth are able to look up to in order to be inspired and that I'm putting in the work in order to encourage them to put in the work. When we say putting in the work, and when I talk about jumping off the porch, I'm talking about community outreach. I'm talking about making resources accessible. I'm talking about not just giving tangible goods, but giving the knowledge, the resources, the tools, opening the door for those around, those who have access to me, to be able to start businesses, to be able to address their mental health, to be able to, and I want to speak on being young. Although I'm young, I am blessed to be very educated. Additionally, I am a married woman. I am a wonderful mother, if I could say so myself. And I speak this not only from my personal place, but from those around me as well as my children. So we can't just put age on people's qualifications. Being a newer Burnham resident, that does not minimize what I'm capable of doing. I do not need 2 decades in order to bring what it is that God has created me to do to the communities that I service. I don't need 2 decades to do anything. What it is that I'm supposed to do, I come through the door doing, and that's why at such a young age, I have accomplished the things that I have accomplished. Therefore, I want my Burnham residents to know that if they speak with anyone or any community that I've resided or worked in, I come through the door putting in the work and making sure that I'm a wonderful asset to that community.
Thank you so much. Mr. Russell, I guess this question is for both of you. Can you tell us why you're running, the history? Like, why do you want to be the mayor of Burnham?
So a little back history. I started serving the community of Burnham as a part-time police officer and transitioned to being a full-time police officer. Also serving as a Burnham school board member. I guess my service to my community has drawn me to this position and this role, and how crucial it is for our community. Starting part-time and transitioning to full-time and working with the schools and making sure the schools are great during one of the most critical times in our community and our nation's history during COVID. It really drove me or moved me into being into public service. My first time running for public office was 4 years ago when I did decide to run for mayor. And I think now, looking back, I see that I was just running in place, but I wasn't moving. It wasn't until after I learned how to run that I see what movement is. One thing you learn about new candidates, or you see with new candidates, everyone, they talk about running. We have to also put in the work to learn how to run and what qualifies as running. That's why I'm so blessed to be alongside Domynique Jazmen. She has really brought out a lot of me that I didn't know I had in myself. So when I always tell my residents, what's drawn me to do it is growth. Growth is probably the biggest thing internally that I can say that's drawn me back to doing it again and doing it the first time that I ran. And like I said, the biggest thing about our community is that we all know each other. Whether I see you at the parent-teacher conference, whether our kids go to school together or not, you know me and I know you. And the thing about Burnham that we all love, especially Burnham School District, it's a one school district. So the same parent that my kids started out with in pre-K, we still here together. 13 years later, our kids are still in the same class and we still attending the same parent-teacher conferences together. So, like, what's always drawn me to Burnham, not just to work and serve, but also to move my family here, has always been the unity within the community. And while the current administration has been there for over 2 decades, it isn't a knock at them, but it's just me wanting to build a better Burnham. Build the Burnham that I want to see in the southeast side of Cook County. The one that we visit in northwestern Cook is the one that we want to bring here, that attracts new families, younger families to want to move here and stay here. I want my children, my daughter who attends Howard University, to come back to Burnham and start and build her first home and family right here in Burnham, where she grew up at. So for me, this is more about the future. It's not about right now. I'm running right now to build for the future of Burnham. To build up some of the things that we already have to make them better. That's why I chose the running mate that I did, because I know she's going to bring a lot of resources to the clerk's office that we lack or that we might not have at the moment. But I'm very confident in our team. I'm very confident in the direction that Burnham's going to move going forward. And I just feel like, as being a part of being blessed and honored to be a part of the head, I'm going to cherish that moment. There's no age on it, but there is respect on it. And I do respect my residents, even the ones that voted 4 years ago and the ones that will be voting today. I respect them all, and I respect them for giving me the opportunity to not just be a leader within the community, but to also see a leader, a future leader in the community. And it's brought out the best in me. So this opportunity that we have today is going to be great and phenomenal. I think our community is ready for the change, and they're ready for the betterment, and I just don't want to let them down. So.
Oh, thank you so much. Dr. Domynique, can you answer the same question?
Yes, I can. I think that Mr. Russell hit most of the key points, but I do want to share that I'm led to run for this position. I know the last question discussed the lack of experience, so the answer kind of intertwines. So a big part of the reason that I've decided to run in this position is because of personal experience. So I am a person. I am not a politician. I am a parent. I am a business owner. So my personal experiences are what motivate me and pushed me to run in this position. I never grew up knowing or thinking that I want to be a politician. the reality is, transparent moment, I didn't grow up knowing what politicians did. That motivates me to want to be a politician, and it motivates me to want to go to the schools not only in Burnham but in our surrounding communities and make sure that beyond the students passing the Constitution, that there are faces to put to the local politicians, that they have an understanding of the impact and what these politicians are responsible for, so that they are held accountable. I want to make sure that politicians are being held accountable and that they are in these positions not for personal reasons but doing what's best for the communities, making sure that there's economical development and not bridges and brick walls put in place for small business owners if they're not doing personal favors for, people in certain positions. It's important for us to have transparency. It's important to have people that genuinely care, people that are not about themselves in these seats, because that's the only way that we're going to see the change that we deserve and that we much need in not only in Burnham, but in our Southland communities as a whole. So I wanna start where I reside by being a power force and by opening those doors and by making sure that these children do not grow up hearing these titles or seeing this literature that shows up on their doorstep when it's election time. But I want to make sure that people like myself and politicians are around for the children, for the residents, and for the community all year round. I don't want to make sure that there are pop-up events taking place because I need you to know and see my name when it's time to vote. There's no need for me to know each one of my residents' name if I can't bring substance to each one of my residents. So it's just important to me, again, just being a consumer for so long, that I step up in order to bring forward and be the change that I want to see. My commitment to community, is limited as the founder of a nonprofit organization. It's limited as a licensed teacher. It's limited as a licensed social worker. So while I have the passion and I have the education, I want to expand my platform, and I want to be able to get in front of people, places, and things in order to make things that are much needed for our community, make sure that they are to come to pass, to make sure that I am the voice in Springfield in order to make sure that my community is getting the things that they deserve, not hoping and praying that someone else is making it happen when they're just popping up occasionally saying, hey, I'm going to bring you all this. Well, I've been here long enough to know that I have not seen any of these promises that you're making weeks before election come to pass over the past several years that I've been here. So I'm not waiting on anyone. And that's what drives me even as a young woman. I don't sit back and wait. I make things happen. And it's my prayer that I'm able to make things happen on behalf of my neighbors, on behalf of the residents, on behalf of the families, by being elected as the next village clerk in Burnham.
Thank you both so much. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. And we're
you.
going to get prepared because we hear that there are residents.
Yes,
there are residents outside. So we want to get to the residents. And I want to thank you very much for sharing those. We look forward to just bringing as much as we can through our online platforms for those who aren't able to attend. But when you are able to attend, please make sure that you are attending these events. This is just the beginning. We look forward to making sure that we are using our online platforms when we get in office in order to make sure that information is getting out to our residents, and we're creating ways for you all to communicate with us if you're not able to attend the many in-person events, the many in-person seminars, and the different events and ways that we're going to utilize our social media as well as our in-person platform, especially as we expand and we revitalize our community center and our parks so that we can get together in person, but when we can't, virtually for those who need it, in order to answer questions, in order to produce results, and in order to share those resources. You all have a wonderful evening. Thank you for tuning in.
Yep.
We have Mayor candidate
T.
Antwon.
Russell.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Vote.
And Domynique Jazmen Smith running for Village Clerk. Vote. The polls are open 9 to 5 daily at the Calumet City Library. If you are not able to make it for early voting, we look forward to seeing you at the polls on April 1st on Election Day. Vote. Domynique Jazmen Smith for clerk.
Antwon T. Russell for mayor.
Burnham neighbors, we love you. Have a great week. See you soon at the polls.